Hello, everybody. This is a free live YouTube that I'm going to do. I don't know how long I'm gonna do. Maybe 1 hour, 2 hour. I wrote my notes. I don't know how long it's gonna go, but gonna go as long as I can. Until I finish all my notes. So thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. As you know, this is Think or Swim. Just going over the basics. I have different time frames here: 1 minute, 5 minutes, and 15, 30. And this one is 1 hour, 4 hour, daily and weekly. As always, you need to look at all time frames to see where is the market direction going. And then on every time frame, I have the indicators of Bollinger Band, is a simple moving average of 5 and 10. And then I have here MACD, I have RSI, and a stochastic fast, and TTM squeeze. And on the 1 and 5 and 15, I have IV, implied volatility. I'm gonna go all over all of them and see what's going on. So the most important thing that I follow and I look at them is TTM squeeze and MACD. These are my two most favorite that I watch. So let me show you guys how it works. For example, TTM squeeze. It's very interesting. I'll show you Tesla example for here. TTM squeeze has four colors. It has red, yellow, and then it has light blue bar and dark blue bar. So whenever you see a name that has a red bar and the bar is on the rise, it's an indication that the direction is moving downward and is accelerating down until you see the bars are getting almost the same size or change color from red to yellow. That means change of direction. Whenever you see a change of color from TTM squeeze from red to yellow, means either a slowdown, change of direction, or deaccelerating on the speed. So in this case, it's deaccelerating, it's becoming flat, so it changed to yellow. And for example, here you can see here it came down after red became yellow and went into consolidation mode. So another example that if I can find it here, let me show you guys. UNH was bullish running on Friday, so that one is interesting. So this one you can see here on 15. You see the blue bars are on the rise. Until you don't see a dark blue bar, it can continue going. And same thing on the 30 minutes, and then you can see here 1 hour and 4 hour and daily and weekly. So the most interesting thing on TTM squeeze is paying attention to the change of colors and the bar sizes. Is the bar increasing or is the bar decreasing? Like Netflix was dumping on the Friday, and then you can see here at this point the bar was solid red, and it was from 1 o'clock until 2:45. The bars were solid red, and it was decreasing until you got a yellow bar and you got to jump up there. So 5 minutes gave you earlier warning, and then here you see 5 minutes TTM squeeze was rising until you get the first yellow bar, and it was consolidation. And then I'll show you on the MACD. So this is the whole concept. It's very simple. TTM squeeze, just understand that when it changed from red to yellow, or when it changes, let me show you on the bullish name UNH. When it changes from a light blue bar to dark blue bar, it's really important. And the most important is the biggest move happens when the light blue bar shows. So when you see red goes to yellow, it changes direction. But the biggest move happens when it starts showing yellow bar. I'm sorry, a light blue bar. When the light blue bar shows, it can go until it change colors. So that's why you want to combine different time frames together, because the smaller time frame shows you better warning, better alert when to get out or when to stay still in. So anyhow, that's about the concept of TTM squeeze. And in the service, a lot of time I send alert that we got the first yellow bar, means that that's probably the bottom is changing, maybe change of direction is coming, maybe a slowdown is coming. Or I say okay, it's running up, and then I say okay, first dark blue bar, that means maybe the jump up is finished. For example, Apple was running up, so you can see here Apple was very strong on Friday, and then was very bullish. You can see here was bullish on the 15 and 30. The blue bars are on the rise, was very strong. But what happened is 5 minutes gave you early warning at 11 o'clock, and then at 1 o'clock, and then it gave you early warning on 5 minutes, and then it starts consolidating. It made a new high here, a smaller high, but then what happened is at 1 o'clock you start getting dark blue bar, and then at same time 15-30 minutes give you a dark blue bar. So that means, it's a solid direction. When you see both time frames like 15 and 30, both of them at the same time, gives you a dark blue bar, that means, okay, maybe it's a real solid change of direction. And that's what happened. Apple was holding the market up, market was green, but then when Apple pulls back, all market was already weak and downward, and then when Apple pulled back, was holding it up, boom, everything went down. So anyhow, you can see here, change direction, the bars start getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and then continue going until end of the day. So anyhow, this is about TTM squeeze. Very simple. Red to yellow, the light blue bar to dark blue bar, and it shows on the trading view. You can use the same. It has the same SQZ is the indicator on. If you don't have Thinkorswim, you can use SQZ indicator on trading view. So, and the other thing that I always watch is MACD. MACD is, and again, another most favorite indicator that I have. For example, MACD is very simple. I don't watch the bars too much because I have TTM squeeze, and it's more reliable on TTM squeeze, but it's kind of the same concept that the MACD has of these bars. But I love the lines. The lines are really, really, really helpful. So the angle of the lines are really important. Is the angle wide open? Is it the widely closed? Like, let's look at the futures right now. For example, you can see here the 1 minute is wide open right now. When it wide, you see here how it was tight, then it starts getting wider and wider. And look here, right now this is NQ. So you can see here we get red bars. Like, this is 1 minute chart, and until you don't see a yellow bar, this one still has chance to go down. That's why I always in the service, when you see something that is falling, for example here on the NQ, 5 minutes is downward, but 15 is not dead cross yet, but it's showing red bar. So you see it's going from yellow to red. And 8 p.m. In ETF and SPY and QQ, they're opening right now. They open already, so that has the effect. So you can see here direction on the 30 minutes is solid downward. 1 hour is solid downward. 4 hour, where it's kind of flat, not golden cross, not so much wide open. But until you don't see 1 minute shows the yellow bar, we're not gonna have a solid jump up. Okay, so we can get back to this later. So that's the whole concept of TTM squeeze and MACD. MACD, for example, okay, it got a yellow bar. So you see here right now on this jump up, it shows a yellow bar, but you don't want to like right away deep buy. You want to see if it's a solid yellow bar, it's gonna come yellow, then it's gonna turn to light blue bar, maybe then direction changes. So let's go back to MACD. So MACD is very, very interesting. So you can see here on the 5 minute, when Apple opened, it was weak, it came down, and then right away on 10 o'clock, first the TTM squeeze gives you a yellow bar sign. Okay, that's good. Is it gonna bounce up? Let's see. And then at 10:05, it starts giving you a MACD golden cross. This is what I always alert in the service. Apple 5 MACD golden cross. Once that happens, boom, it can go on until you get the next dead cross. So where to enter? Here is a good place to enter. Once you see a golden cross, and as soon as you see a good jump, I post the levels 175, 175.82. It had chance to get to 177. It got near it by the 1 p.m. almost 12:30. So 5 minute MACD, it didn't get it. The best is if you buy calls, you want to hold it until you get a solid dead cross, because sometimes it can slow down, maybe consolidate, then run up again, as it did here. It went inside the range and it went higher, but here you can see here at this point it made a shooting star candle. When it made a shooting star candle, that's not a good sign. And then we got another dead cross in the 5 minutes, and then it shows 15 minutes dark blue bar. So if you're still holding, you want to get out as soon as you can, because it's most likely it's gonna go down, and it went down. And another thing to keep in mind, it's easy to analyze market after the fact that happened, but the fact is, trading is like an art. Option buying is like an art. You need to be able to predict based on these indicators, based on these colors on TTM squeeze and movement, what's gonna happen next. It could have come down here and hold this bottom and this consolidation and go up again, But once you see it breaks the bottom range, you see here it went up, it came down, it went up, it came down. So establish a bottom of the range. Once, even if you be like, okay, maybe it has chance to go up, but once you see it breaks the bottom of the range, that's a point that you want to switch from calls to put. If you have calls, definitely you want to get out because it broke the bottom of the range. And then the rest was history and went down lower. So that's about TTM squeeze and MACD. And the other important things is RSI. RSI, very simple. It has overbought zone, it has oversold zone. It has two line, 30 and 70. And whenever it goes on above of 70, it's overbought zone. We call it overbought zone. When it goes below 30, we call it oversold zone. So on Tesla, for example, you can see here it went inside the oversold zone at 1 p.m. on the 5 minutes. Start going to the oversold zone. And it's really important about RSI. You want to pay attention to it. When a name on any time frame goes into the overbought zone or oversold zone, the candle can be there. Few candle can be the chart can stay there for few candle. Okay, but here's the tricky part. On the 1 minute, few candle, okay, it's few minutes. On the 5 minutes, few candle can be 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But imagine when the 4 hour or daily goes to there. When the daily goes there, few candle can be few days, 10 days, which we had example beginning of the year. Remember when Tesla went to 100, it was like almost, I think, 13 or 15, I'm not sure exactly, 18 candles, the daily RSI was in the oversold zone. You can go check historic chart. It's really important to pay attention and go always look at the historic chart and what happened. So for example, Tesla right now 4 hour is in the oversold zone. It can continue be there for few candle, which can be few days, or it can suddenly bounce up. Because RSI, any name, always whenever it goes to oversold zone or overbought zone, in that time frame, if that particular time frame, people pay attention that they're cautious that maybe that's the time, anytime it can jump, reverse back up in that time frame. So a lot of people book profit, or if they want to deep buy, they pay attention, they keep an eye on it, see if it's going to reverse anytime. So that's about RSI, and same thing about reverse. So you can put negative in front of any name and make it bullish. So see here, like test, for example, let's say Tesla is running up. So this one you see here, overbought zone, everything is overbought zone. And overbought zone, always keep in mind that whenever a name goes into overbought zone, it makes the biggest move. Let's look at the actual one, UNH. So UNH, you can see here, like for example, this one on the 15 minutes, it went in the overbought zone, but it stayed there only one candle. It didn't stay there long. And so yeah, here the same thing. So you want to always be ready. And another trick is always be cautious when a name and a 1 minute goes into the overbought zone. It's really important. Don't One of the reasons a lot of people lose money is because they buy option call when a name is in the overbought zone on a 1 minute. That's the time maybe it's gonna reverse anytime back. So you gotta be cautious. That's not the best time to buy. If it's a news, yes, doesn't matter. It's in the overbought zone. It just, if it's a good news, if it's a positive news, it can run up crazy. But if it's temporary technical bounce up, you want to pay attention to the volume. If you see volume is declining and is in the overbought zone, anytime can reverse back. Same thing for oversold. When it's oversold and you want to buy a put, be cautious in the 1 minute. A lot of time that you see, like it happens to new traders that they buy in calls or puts or whatever they buy or the stock they buy, and then right away they lose money. Why? Because they bought it when it was oversold or overbought. You want to wait a little bit, pullback gives, then get into it. For example, UNH, you can see here in the morning. So in the morning it jumped up. Okay, you missed this. You want to wait. The best entry, I'll tell you a trick. The best entry to enter a stock is when the 1 minute MACD golden cross for calls. For example, UNH, it jumped up. Okay, so you missed it. You didn't buy it. You don't want to buy it on the top here and then right away lose money and be like, oh my god, now I'm gonna take loss, and then later it goes up and you say, oh my god, why I sold it. So you want to wait. I always say, when you want to wait until you get the next 1 minute MACD. So this one you can see here, 5 minutes is up bar, 15 is up, and then 30 MACD later golden cross. So you want to wait until you catch the next 1 minute MACD. Once 1 minute MACD golden cross, you see light blue bars, it can continue going on until you see a dark blue bar. So if you're a quick trader, you want to get out when you see dark blue bar. But if you want to stay longer, you have patience, you can pay attention to the 5 minutes and until you see don't see dark blue bar, it's a good hold. Or if you are longer term, you want to pay attention to the 15 and 30. Until you don't see a dark blue bar on 15 and 30, you can keep holding it. And believe me, algorithms, market makers, they pay attention to these indicators. That's how they price options. They pay attention to the stock behavior, and based on that, they move the premiums. Like for example, on Friday, the calls weren't moving that much, but stock was everything was green, but premiums weren't moving that much because they were looking at indicators. They didn't see the potential for crazy run up, and then you saw the reversal that happens. So anyway, that's about RSI. Another thing to pay attention is, for example, SMA and SMA 5 and 15. Those are really important too. A lot of people love SMA. For example, you see Tesla is falling. For example, on Friday, I send an alert that 252 is a key level. If you see it passing, passes strong, it can go next level of 248 and 246. So these levels that you see, it's my secret sauce. I use Fibonacci to draw them. You can draw Fibonacci. There's so many educational video about how to draw them, and it's not so difficult. But I have my own special ways to get these levels. So, but anyhow, I have these 252, and I said if it passes strong, it can go lower. Because why? Because in the morning it dumped, and it rejected it, and it bounced back off of it. It came, but it couldn't go back. It couldn't go above 256. So it came back again midday to 252, and the bars were rising. And then it went to the oversold zone, okay? But pay attention. Another really important thing in trading is IV, implied volatility. When you see the TTM squeeze, red bars are increasing, and then the stock, the 5 SMA and the 10 SMA, they're both downward and is riding below this one, the 5 SMA. It's really interesting. Pay attention. You see, it's riding below 5 SMA, and a few times it broke it up, but it couldn't pass the 10 SMA. So you want to wait until you see a golden cross. It kind of acts like a MACD too. So you can see here when the 5 minutes MACD golden cross, a few minutes later, the S5 SMA and 10 SMA, they crossed each other too. But it's really interesting that when a stock is falling, for example, in this case, it's riding below the 5 and 10, but it broke a few times the 5, but it couldn't break the 10 until here. So that's the time you want to get out. When you see it's giving a solid break, you want to get out. And it went into in consolidation mode. You can hold it and put a stop loss, or pay attention to the next level. Say, okay, it's gonna probably make a range and then breaks. Another thing I wanted to show you guys is this. Every stock moves in a wave, like a sinus wave. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up. The worst time to buy, like for example, call or stock, is this place or here. Yes, you have to be a super master to buy it at the bottom, and be a super master and very lucky and very, very super professional to sell at the top. But it's not going to be too difficult to grab it here, sell it here, or for example, put and buy calls here and sell it here. Or if you buy it here, you didn't sell it here, you didn't sell it there, you sell it after it's coming down, sell it down. And another thing is, the waves are like this, the movement in the stock, but in reality the stock moves like this. It comes down, comes a little bit up, then it goes down again, then it comes up a little bit up, then it comes down, at some point makes a bottom. So it's, but indicator, TTM squeeze and MACD, you can identify where is the bottom, where is the top. For example, any stock that comes down, it can come down like this, maybe suddenly jumps up, or it comes down, makes a small jump up, and then goes down again. So what you want to pay attention is to the TTM squeeze on the daily, and to MACD on the daily. For example, right now on the ES, if we look, daily direction is completely downward. Until we don't have a yellow bar, the pressure is down. That's why you want to combine the long-term indicators with the short-term indicators. On the longer time frames and the short time frames, comparing together, combining together, and pay attention to indicators, all of them, and make a result. So for example, on this name, on the ES right now, direction, the weekly and daily is so downward. You see how the mouth is so completely open? Until you don't see the MACD makes at least a flat, gets curved up, there is no chance for it to come up. There is no possibility to come up. Yes, miracle does happen. It can anytime jump up, but for now, based on technicals, just technical, there is no chance for it to come up. So another thing to keep in mind is in a market, in a stock market, on top of everything, indicator and all these things, number one is news. News change everything. After that is volume, and then there is technical. So for example, 4 hour, you can see here was wide open. It came down. Now it's flattening. It tried to golden cross, but it's still not golden cross on the MACD. Until we don't have a 4 hour valid golden cross upward, or the bars starts rising up, there is no chance for this market to reverse. Okay, as I said, magic can happen, surprise can happen, news or something can change everything, but for now, based on technical, is downward. When you see a MACD wide open like this on any time frame, 1 minute, 5 minutes, this is can go on the TTM squeeze until you get a yellow bar, or until the 5 minutes MACD golden cross. For example, here, look at here on the 5 minutes. This one was wide open, okay, and it continued going lower. Like, okay, maybe you think this is the lowest point, but it continued going lower, makes a new low until it gives a yellow bar on the TTM squeeze. Then once that happens, then at this point we got a MACD golden cross, it comes up. So this is the whole concept I want to just say about MACD and TTM squeeze, RSI, SMA. I went over it, and Tesla. Let me show you about Tesla, something interesting actually. So Tesla was very bullish. Was very bullish before Wednesday. Daily was upward, but before before Wednesday, for example, look here on Tesla. On 9:18, we start getting dark blue bar. Look at here about how interesting it is. On 8:21, we start getting yellow bar on Tesla, and it starts rising, 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 rising until here, 9:18. We got dark blue bar, and the MACD start curving down. So it's really important. You need to know yourself. You need to know, are you a short-term trader? Are you a long-term trader? So based on those facts, you need to find your favorite time frame. Even if you are a short-term trader, you always want to pay attention to the long picture. Is the direction on the 4 hour daily, weekly downward? Okay, so you got to be cautious if playing calls, if you're playing dips, if you're playing any run-up, because the direction on the longer time frame is downward. Or if the direction on the longer time frame is upward, should I play put or not? Always pay attention, because the algos and the market makers, they favor the direction on the longer time frames. For example, on Friday again, direction is downward, and market was very, very green. QQQ was 1% up, but the calls weren't moving up because direction on the longer time frame was downward. So they weren't favoring the calls. They killed the premiums on puts, and the calls a little bit went up, but then when it reversed again, puts went higher and calls got dropped. So anyhow, so here on Wednesday, sorry about that. On Wednesday, it made a very interesting jump. So 4 hour start giving yellow bar. You can see here once it start giving dark blue bar. So pay attention here. 9:18 TTM squeeze, it start giving dark blue bar. Okay, and the 4 hour got a dead cross. So direction was downward. And then it gives the yellow bar, which is a sign maybe it wants to go up. It was close to get a golden cross. And this is before, I believe, yeah, this is Wednesday, yeah. So Wednesday, and then midday, Tesla start jumping up. If I could show you guys on this time frame, no, I have to change the time frame. But anyhow, what I wanted to say is, it's a 4 hour was very close to golden cross, but then, it jumped up, it rejected 272, but then right away, because market start going red, it dumped, and then it starts showing red bar, and the MACD curve down, and then after that we got a daily dead cross too. So anyhow, I went over this, so you want to pay attention if a name breaks the bottom of the range. So in the morning, for example, Tesla was bearish. It came down and it rejected 252. 15 minutes was downward, 30 minutes was downward, but the puts weren't moving that much. But once we start getting red bars, you see here, on the TTM squeeze, we start getting red bars, the drop start accelerating on the 30 minutes time frame. And another interesting thing is that you want to pay attention to the IV. You see here, this is the IV chart. So even it dropped, but IV start dropping. IV is really important. For example, right now, let me explain to you the IV. For example, Tesla, go look at the call, 10% up, see the price, how much it is. Go look at Apple, 10% up. For example, Apple is 175, add 10% to it. Go look at the strike of next week. And Tesla, same thing. Whatever 244 it is right now, add 10% to it, and go look at the strike of next week. You will see that the Tesla premiums are much more expensive than Apple. Why? Because the IV is higher. IV is something it has a special formula based on every name has different IV. I've seen even infinity. It's crazy. IV can sometimes go crazy on the same day expiration, like 1 hour to close or stuff like that. But that's something crazy. But in general, like GME, GameStop, or AMC, or some crazy names that recently we have, Carvana or UPST, sometimes IV can go to 500%, 300%. It's just crazy. But in general, is usually as 100%, is below 100%. For example, SPY, if you go on Thinkorswim application, it shows you when you click on option, it shows IV percentile. You can see here, like, SPY is 18%, Apple is 27, and Tesla is 61%. So you see the big difference. So anyhow, this is really important here. I want to tell you, IV is dropping. Okay, Tesla dropped, and then it jumped back up. So IV is dropping. Calls aren't moving that much. Puts are getting killed because it's jumping back up, right? But then here, 5 minutes it start giving the red bars, and the IV starts rising. So this is the most important thing. Once you see a name is dropping or flying any way that it's going, once you see the IV is going up, that means that the algos, the premiums, the market makers, the ones that are setting the prices for option, they are predicting that in that direction move that is happening right now, it's going to get bigger and bigger. And you can see here that the IV continues going higher and higher until it went here. They dropped it in the close again, and then it went higher again. So, and it's really interesting. Yeah, just to study the IV, and it happens a lot on Tesla, because sometimes makes a big move. It happens a lot, very often on Tesla, but other names not too much. Even like Apple doesn't happen too much, but in Corona time, like an SPY, it would happen a lot. So anyway, about enough of IV. Okay, I went over that one. Let me just show you again UNH, something that's the only names that was very strong on Friday. So as I said, TTM squeeze. It's really, really, really interesting. So what's interesting about UNH is UNH it dropped. You can see here daily MACD dead crossed here. It was around 500 and dead cross. So you can see here TTM. Pay attention to the TTM squeeze and MACD. It continued going lower and lower until we got yellow bar. Start making a bottom. So if you, for example, you're a stock trader, it's really interesting that you want to pay attention to the MACDs. Once it golden cross, that means, okay, it's gonna probably start going up. So, and another thing is, once when a name is dropping, it has again few options. Either it's dropping, it can go lower again, or it's gonna go sudden bounce up, or it's gonna just go into a flat mode. Depends on the behavior and many other factors. In this case, it came down, and then it gave a golden cross. Once you see a golden cross, that means after that there is a higher chance that the jumps up are more valid. And you see here the MACD golden cross on 9:15, right? And if you go to 9:15 here, and then we got a 4-hour golden cross. Anyway, UNH is, because it's the only bullish name was on Friday. I don't have another example right now to show you guys. But what I want to say is that it's very liquid name actually too, for playing options. The bid and ask so wide apart. But once you see a 4-hour golden cross, it continues going until you see a dead cross. It's really like in Tesla again, a lot happens that when it starts running, it can continue going on until the 4-hour dead cross. In this case, you can see here it run up to 488, boom, it drops. But because the weekly was weak before this run up that last few days gave every run up had chance to pull back. But anyhow, we got the next 4-hour golden cross. This is another trick that is really interesting. When you see a name weekly and daily is upward, and then you see a 4-hour golden cross, that's a signal that this is gonna run up. Okay, and here it happened. It gave a golden cross and it starts running up. So direction was up 3 days ago. All right, even though market was weak on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, this one is still was green. And here's the interesting thing: when you see a name is bullish on daily and weekly, and the 4 hour is still bullish, you want to pay attention to it at open. You see, on the day before it was bullish. Once it opens, direction was downward, right? 15 was downward, 30 was downward. You can see here red bars. But as soon as it opens, you see the first, as soon as it opened, first 5 minutes, 5 MACD golden cross. At what time? At 9:35. Then it follows by 15, that follows by 30. It was just non-stop running. Doesn't matter, market is bearish, people are running to this name. So anyway, enough of this example. Another name I want to go with is Netflix. Netflix, another example that weekly MACD dead crossed last week. Okay, when you see a name weekly MACD dead crosses, it's really important. Let me give you, actually before this I go to this, let me show you guys UPST. Let's go to quarterly max and then maximize this. All right, so you want to always pay attention to the monthly and the quarterly too. When you see a name quarterly dead crosses, it means it's going into dead mode. And you can see here for 1, 2, 3, 4 quarter it was dead. Or AMC. So it's really important, like, you know, when you see a name quarterly is dead crossing, that means it's going to the dead mode. Let me show you guys another name that is really interesting. QCOM, it was $100 in 2000, year 2000. So you can see here in year 2000 it went all the way to 100. What is today? 100 again. After 20 years, 23 years, it's still 100. So here the dead cross on the quarterly, and it was like for 3 years it was just, you know, stuck in the range, and it took how many years to get back and break 100. So always want to pay attention the names that you're playing. What is the quarterly and the monthly indicators? Like Roku is still, you know, the MACD on the quarterly is still downward. Another interesting thing is that, you know, during 2022, that a lot of names were dropping. The quarterly got dead cross, all right, but then they diverted up by the bounce. Anyhow, let's go back, and also monthly charts. Those are really important. Right now, for example, market, a lot of names monthly charts are still bullish, but if they go bearish, then this drop can get very much more serious. Anyway, I'm not talking about the market. We're talking the market situation right now. We're going educational. Netflix, we were talking about it. Netflix, so weekly MACD already dead cross. So it did, when you see a name MACD dead cross on the weekly, it means it does have the potential to go lower. Until when? Until you see a valid blue bar or the daily MACD golden cross. So you can see here weekly dead cross on 8/7 before even this news came out, and the daily let's go to 8/7. So here you can see here 8/7 was downward, and then it did give a golden cross. It did another jump up until we get a dark blue bar, and then the news came in and boom, it went down. So even before the news came in, the day before, it gave dark blue bar. So this is interesting fact. You see here we got a dark blue bar, and the next day when the news hit, boom, it went down bigger. And what's interesting is, look here, we're still dark blue bar and we're still red bar. It went from dark to red and even accelerated down. But what's interesting is, you know, last few days, if you were paying attention, few times it tried to jump up. But why it couldn't continue? Because the pressure is down on weekly and daily. Until we don't have a yellow bar, until we don't have a much bigger jump, maybe it needs maybe 20 points to go up from here, that, you know, changes, gives a solid, valid directional change. So anyhow, for example, on Netflix, what's interesting is, if I could go 5 minutes today, let's change that to 3 days. All right, and this one I want to change it to 3 days. I want to show you something interesting. Okay, so I want to show you that this one. One second, I fix this one. 3 days. I think this should be enough. So anyhow, Netflix. What's interesting, on Wednesday, on Thursday, the news came in that the writers are they reaching a deal, blah blah blah. So it did have the potential to jump up. The day before it was 182, 384. It went lower and lower. It went to 382. Then the news came in that they gonna make a deal. Let me just make sure this is right. 398. All right, yeah. So here's, for example, Thursday morning, Netflix wants to open. What's going on? Pre-market, 15 is very bullish. This is another trick that I always pay attention before market opens. When market opens, you want to pay attention what is the direction on 15 and 30 on the TTM squeeze and the MACD. As you can see here, 5 minutes is upward, 15 is up, and then 1 minute is just in the range up and down. And what's interesting is before market open, it already made a new low of 282, and right now it's 286. So it's already 1% jump up, and it went from red to green pre-market. So as before market opens, 3 minutes, 1 minute MACD golden cross. And then there is a positive news. So this has the chance at open jumps up, and it opens. As soon as it jumps up, you want to grab the option. I posted the alert in the service. 388 passes, it can go to 392 and 398.3. So it jumped on the 1 minute, 5 minutes, 15 minutes. All other time frame were bullish at that time. And then what happened is it went higher, but what happened is here we got a shooting star. It couldn't get to 398. And also look at the IV. IV was on the rise too. But what happened is it made a shooting star, and then 1 minute dead cross. 1 minute dead cross, that's a sign. Maybe this is the top. Maybe it's gonna pull back, because why? Daily and weekly are still very bearish. So you want to be cautious. You want to lock profit very fast, or consider it. If you see it going below this candle, below this range, get out before it goes into bigger loss. And what happened is after that you get a confirmation on the 5 minutes on 10:15. This is getting change of direction. A lot of times happen that names are very bullish pre-market, or very bullish first 5-10 minutes, or maybe 20-30 minutes, but then boom, it changed direction. And as you can see here, 5 minutes dead cross, and then after that we got 15 minutes dead cross. It went inside the range, and later it went lower, and 30 minutes MACD dead cross. Once the 30 minutes MACD dead cross, 15, I always say this is another key thing to pay attention. When you see a name is bullish, it's running from the morning. When you see midday 15 and 30 they dead cross, that means this is a valid change of direction, and it can go lower. And it sure did. 15 dead cross. If I show you 30 on that day, that's probably most likely dead cross, and it went lower in the day. So anyway, about Netflix, Amazon. Let's go to Amazon. So Amazon, another interesting name. It was inside the range. You can see here between 136, 130. It was just going up and down, but then once it breaks the range, it went crazier higher. In market, it's really interesting. There is a lot of patterns and charts and everything. Sometimes names move. Let me fix this one. Sometimes names move like this, create a pattern, and then once you see like breakout, this pattern can be parallel, can be downward, can be upward. Anyway, it is. Once you see a valid breakout, like it breaks the top of the range, that can move up crazier and higher. And this happens every day in every time frame. For example, like look here. This is just, I don't know what day, what time, when it is, but just look here. It jumped up, it created bottom here, it created range. Once it breaks the range, like 130, 130, 15, boom, it went lower in the day. So it's just something very simple. Range breakout, that's when the premiums move the most. Premiums of option, calls, or puts, they move the biggest when the range breaks. This is something very simple to keep in mind. So Amazon, you can see here, was just non-stop going up. It went to 145. But what's interesting is The day that it went to 145, it hit 140. You can see here it went 145. The next day was kind of flat, but this is something really interesting that happened that day. Before it closes, like 30 minutes before close, it starts it had a very very weak close, even though market was still holding up strong. Amazon, which was the strong name, at close it started having a very weak close, and it had a weak close, and that was a sign that the next day it went lower. And you can see here after market 4 hour dead cross, and that was a sign maybe this is the top, and it sure was. 4 hour dead cross. Next one day it opened red, and the next day was a rest, and then once the daily MACD dead cross, boom, it went much bigger. And right now you can see here, even on this run up, the weekly is dead cross. So these are all signs that this name is bearish right now, even though if next few days this jumps up, it can be sold quick. Why? Because daily is downward, weekly is downward. Until you don't see a 4 hour golden cross, if it's still, there's a chance to go lower, and every jump up can be short term and temporary. So 4 hour, you want to see first that golden cross, and once even that happened, still there is a chance all the jump up be short term and temporary until you see a yellow bar on the daily. Then you can call it maybe this is the real bottom. All right, so that's about that one. Microsoft was very interesting on Friday. That's another good example. So let's go on to here. Let me find it here. 3:30. Let's jump in. Yeah. So Microsoft, another nice example that happened on Thursday. That the news came in. Let me show you right here. So this is 1 minute, 5 minutes on Thursday, and market is very weak. Is gap down, big down, everything is red, and Tesla and Microsoft opens down and went lower. So you can see here 1 minute is downward, 5 minutes it opened a little bit, jump up inside the range, and 5 minutes MACD dead cross. Then it made suddenly a hammer candle, which was interesting. Probably somebody did just a big sell very fast. But then after that, we got a golden cross. So this is interesting. When you see a golden cross, you was like, okay, maybe this is the bottom. That when you see a hammer candle or shooting a star candle, you want to pay attention. What's gonna happen after that? So after that, we got a 5 minutes MACD golden cross, and then suddenly news came in. This is a perfect example. When you see, if there's any question, let me know in the comment. If when you see news come in, when you see a stock jumps off very fast, big, and on a huge volume, pay attention to the volume before that. Pay attention to the volume on the 5 minutes before that. You can see here the volume just jacked up big and is jumping up. So this means what? This means something's going on. And you can check FinTweet, and there's a lot of people sharing news. Data One, there's some few people that shares news right away, real time. So you could catch this right away. And I always say, any run up, any squeeze up, it can last until the 1 minute MACD dead cross. So here you can see here, jump 1, 2, 3 minutes. That was it. It touched 320. As soon as I see this jump, I post it in the service. 320 passed, 322, 324, 326. Boom. It got to 324, but rejection there. And then after that, we got dark blue bar. That means okay, it's gonna pull back, and it pulled back. It came back to 320. People were still analyzing the news, how good it is, blah blah blah, because when news comes, everything jumps up. But then people think about it. If this is good news, it can continue running higher. What's the chances of going? So then you will see if it continues, or it's gonna pull back, or it's gonna consolidate. So anyhow, it pulls back. 5 minutes is still very bullish, and then you can see here again 1 minute MACD golden cross, and goes for the next jump. You can see here, if you were that day, you can see here the TTM squeeze was getting red, then to the yellow, and then went to the, it's very small because that's why it's not showing so much. But at the same time, another interesting thing is paying attention to the RSI. You can see here the RSI went to the overbought zone. That's the time you want to consider selling if you already grabbed call, and definitely don't want to grab, don't want to open a new position because it's overbought. Anytime can pull back. Same thing here. For example, you bought it here on the golden cross or on this jump up. You want to get out. You want to consider getting out once you see the RSI is an overbought zone and it's pulling back. And since you pull it back, you want to get out before it becomes the bigger one. So after that, you can see here 1 minute MACD dead cross, and it never gave a golden cross. I mean, after that became weak because pay attention here, the 5 minutes gave a dark blue bar. So once you see a 5 minutes MACD dead cross, or before that TTM squeeze showing a dark blue bar, that means it has much less chance to run up higher. Until here we got a yellow bar. That's another thing to pay attention. It's continue going lower until it gives a yellow bar. That means okay, this is the bottom, then created the bottom, then this part. Another interesting thing, another interesting indicator is stochastic fast. A stochastic fast is a really interesting indicator. This always sorry, 1 second. A stochastic fast always gives the earliest signal. When you see a name is at the bottom of these two lines, at this bottom line, that means the trend is down and it's gonna be there. But once you see from the bottom goes to the top, that means direction is gonna change and reverse. So you can see here, for example, the stochastic fast was downward in the bottom part. It went to the top part. It stays there a little bit, then it starts rolling down. Once it rolls down, that means direction is changing. It can go lower, consolidating, or change of direction. Anyhow, you can see here stochastic fast jumps up, and then it confirms this yellow bar that is becoming valid, and it goes up, it stays there, but then again 5 minutes MACD give dark blue bar. So that means okay, it's again another short-term jump up. So anyway, it's really interesting. Again, as I mentioned, trading is an art. You should know your time frame. Are you a short time trader, or are you a long term trader? And based on that, you need to find your favorite names and favorite time frames and trade based on that. Another interesting name is Boeing. Boeing, for example, let me show you guys on the monthly. Um, so Boeing is still is, even though it dropped from 243, it had a great earning. It still is, TTM squeeze is still bullish. That's something interesting. That means we don't have a dark blue bar. We'll see what October gives, but that means it still has chance. Maybe it jumps up. So that's something you want to pay attention to. But right now, if we look at the weekly chart, you can see here the weekly start dead crossing on 828, and then we got dark blue bar. The daily dead crossed on when? On 814. It was 235, and since then every jump up, every run up was a sell. So you can see here it jumped up. Look here, it came to 220, it jumped up to 230, but then it got again news hit and it gets sold again. It came to 211, touchdown, it jumped up again, but then it went lower. So general direction on the daily chart is downward until you don't see a valid yellow line. So even you see here, for example, it was running down, it got a yellow line, all right, and it jumped 1 2 3 4 days up, but in MACD never golden cross. That's why I always say you want to combine TTM squeeze and MACD together, because here TTM squeeze says okay, this is bullish, it touched down 211 to 230, let's go, this is gonna go to 250, but MACD says no, I'm not golden cross yet, and it failed at 230 again, red bar lower. You need to wait until when we see when it's gonna give the next yellow bar. So for example, on this Boeing, you want to see first yellow bar. Once you see a yellow bar, maybe it does the same. Maybe 3-4 days goes up again. If that time MACD golden cross, then it can have a solid, like maybe 40 points run up, maybe a pre-earning run up. Here's another key thing. Earning season is very close, so I mean maybe we get a pre-earning run up. We'll see. But another thing is a stochastic fast. It's very unreliable indicator. It's very fast. It's changed direction very fast, but it's very interesting on daily and weekly. So once you see a weekly golden cross on a stochastic fast, that's really interesting. For example, on Netflix right now, look at the weekly stochastic fast. It's completely downward. Tesla right now a stochastic fast is dead cross. For example, here you can see here it starts rolling down, it came down, it touched down, and it bounced up, and you can see the behavior on daily chart and weekly chart, how it moved. It moved from 212 to 270. So it is really interesting on the longer time frame, but short time frame not too much reliable, but it's interesting. Um, Nvidia, another interesting name. You can see here the daily MACD dead cross. Even it tried to jump like last week, 441. It tried to fail. It failed it, but anyway, that's just too much details. Let's go to another one. Wix. I want to go over it. Wix and TNX and DXY. These are three really important names and symbol that you want to always keep an eye on it. TNX is treasury. That's really important. That's just inflation, bonds, and just representation of everything: inflation, bonds, treasury, and everything. And this is what everybody watch. TNX, when it rise up, market goes down. When it goes down, market flies up. And you can go look at the historic move of TNX and then go look at SPX historic move. You can see that they really go in the opposite direction. Same thing about DXY. If you go look at DXY, how crazy it went up in 2022, it affected the techs a lot. And same thing right now during intraday, you can see when the DXY jumps, market direction changes. And for example, like yesterday on Friday, not yesterday, on Friday, market was very green, was trying to make a bottom, maybe jumps up. Everybody was hopeful that maybe this is the bottom, but what happened is at 10:30 DXY started jumping up, and then you can see here 1 p.m. it started squeezing higher, and that was the key. So you want to pay attention when you see a DXY. You can see here DXY 15 minutes MACD golden cross at 12 o'clock, 30 minutes golden cross at 1:30, and that was the sign that you're gonna have a flush down. Market can go lower or retest the low of yesterday. Wix, another thing, that's a volatility index. This is really important. Daily MACD, you can see here a golden cross even before the FOMC and Powell comes up. So, and again, go look at it yourself. Put the Wix chart and put the SPX chart. You will see that a lot of times Wix gives completely clear picture where market is going. For example, on Friday market was green, right? And market Wix was direction downward. Pre-market 5 was downward. You can see here 5 was actually golden cross, but 15 and 30 was downward. See here, this is what I mean when I see downward, means look at here, MACD is downward, MACD is downward on the 15:30, and then we have red bars on the TTM squeeze, we have dark blue bar on the 30 minutes. The direction was downward, but what happened is midday at 12 o'clock, 5 minutes MACD golden cross, it rejected to go below 1586, and it was up and down between 1586 1639 until it gives a strong breakout of 1639. This is another important thing that you want to pay attention. You want to see when in any symbol, you want to see what kind of what is the range that is making. If when you see they establishing a range, you want to see what is the top of the range, what is the bottom of the range. I have this Fibonacci, so I can figure out the range very easier, but you can figure out it's not so difficult. But anyway, when you find out what's the range, when you see it breaks the bottom or the top of the range, that's when it makes the biggest move, and that's when it start making a breakout and the premium moves bigger. So anyhow, 5 minutes MACD golden cross, so you gotta be cautious. 5 minutes MACD golden cross, then you see a 30 minutes 15 minutes TTM gives you a yellow bar. It makes a jump, but it fails to break 1639. But if you still have yellow bar, red bar, then until we get a MACD golden cross, that's a more valid directional setup. This is really important, that you want to always pay attention. When you see 1530 MACD golden cross, that means it's valid directional change. And then 15 minutes, you can see here a golden cross. Once that happened, it was a bigger move up, and by close it got to 1726, and it was just a wild move at the close. It came down and went up again. So anyhow, that's about VIX. That one I went over it. I'm just going over my note. All right, let me teach you another really important thing. This is something I'm pretty sure you're not gonna learn it anywhere else. For example, Tesla was falling on Friday, and you see the direction is downward, right? And you have all these different time frames and looking down. I just added Tesla 240p here, right? Okay, so you can add the symbol of the trade that you're interested to trade, or you want to trade, or you're thinking about trading, or you're holding, or whatever. So you can add it to your watch list. Once you do that, you can click on it and use all the same indicators on that option strike. Okay, so for example, this is 240p Tesla. Sorry about that. So 240p Tesla, you can see here when it opened in the morning, it jumped up, and then as soon as it jumped up, let me fix this one. Okay, so as soon as it opened, it jumped up. It went from 1.4, 1.5 to 2.6, but then it gave it a dead cross. That's another thing you want to pay attention, because option is derivative of stocks. Okay, so they give earlier alert than the stocks and everything else. You can actually, if you are a stock trader, you can use premiums of options on predicting how a stock is moving. You can use these indicators. So that's just a simple trick. You can dig into this topic much more. I can talk about it long, but I'm just gonna make it short. You can see the 1 minute, okay, jumped up. Once you give a dead cross, that means the premium is gonna probably get killed or go lower. You wanna wait. And the 5 minutes MACD, you see here, dead cross, it went lower, premium got killed, it went down again to the low of the day, 140, and then it was just up and down. Tesla was weak again, but you can see here, premium start moving here at 1 o'clock when it broke the bottom of the range. When it broke the bottom of the range, the 15 minutes was already golden cross at 11:45. All right, this is the key thing. On 240p Tesla expiration coming week, 15 minutes MACD golden cross. You can see here it jumped up. Then the 30 minutes at 1 p.m. golden cross, and it jumped up. You can see here the volume started coming in. People came in, and you can hold this option until you see a dark blue bar on the 5 minutes. You see the beauty of this trade? You could have bought it here, for example, when you see a 30 minutes MACD golden cross, 1 p.m., 226, sell it at 4. That's 200 to 400, for example, or 2,000 to 4,000, whatever money you play. So anyhow, an option, again, can go on until you have a 15 minutes MACD dead cross. I don't want to say rely on this too much, rely on the stock more, but I just want to show you this little trick. For example, on this option, you can see here on the daily is golden crossing. So that's actually really dangerous. That means maybe Tesla wants to go much lower. So just a simple trick I wanted to show you. You can use all these indicators and all these technicals analysis on options strike and figure out the direction. For example, you can use monthly options and then look at that one and figure out what's the direction on the stock for the next few weeks or next few months. Another simple trick is that, for example, you can use SPY option expiration like next day or same day or 3 days later, but then trade the SPY or SPX like 1 week out, 10 days out. So you can use for example, SPX, same day expiration, add it to your watch list, use the indicator, see how's that behaving. Is it jumpy? Is the 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes MACD upward? Yes, you can hold it until you see a 5 minutes MACD dead cross. You can use the same day option expiration, 5 minutes MACD as an indication for SPX or SPY call you're holding for 3 days option expiration. I hope you got the point. Anyhow, that one, it said that one is stock behavior, monthly volume. I went over it. Another thing to keep in mind in the stock is SMCI, parabolic move. Not a lot of time, but often happens that names happen in the market that does parabolic move. We had Tesla in the past. We had many names, Net, and had example AMC, GME. Parabolic move is what's happened is when a name goes up crazy like this. It goes up crazy. How far can it go up? And SMCI, you can see here, it went up until 357. Then boom, earning wasn't good. And I tell you this trick: any parabolic move can continue going on until you see a weekly MACD dead cross. And you can see here on that earning day that went down crazy, weekly MACD dead cross the week after, not the same week, the week after. So once that happens, the pressure is down. So after that, you can see here, direction was downward until we get a yellow bar. It made some jump up, but you can see here the daily MACD never golden cross. Here it made a valid golden cross. After that, it was inside the range. It still wasn't breaking up too crazy. But then you can see here we got dark blue bar and it went lower again. So parabolic move is something really interesting. Once you see a weekly MACD dead cross, that means the game is over for that name for now. So let me see what else is left here. RSI, I went over it. SMA. Oh, another thing that it's really interesting is Bollinger Band. Let's go back to Tesla. Tesla always makes the best moves. Bollinger Band, these green bars that you see, it has three parts: upper level, mid level, and lower level. Bollinger Band is another very interesting indicator that whenever you see it's going out of the Bollinger Band, it means you're passing the upper or lower level. That means you want to be cautious because it always comes back inside. So, for example, let's look at Tesla. Is that the same day? Yes. So Tesla, you can see here, once it opened, it started on the 1 minute. It started riding same thing that I mentioned. You know, SMA and SMA 5 and 10. It's riding below SMA. Same thing. Bollinger Band right now is riding the lower band of it until it comes here. Few times get out, it comes inside. Again, get out, it comes inside. And then here we got a 1 minute MACD golden cross. That's why you want to learn all these indicators and combine them together to analyze the market. On the 5 minutes, and you can see here, on the 5 minutes and 15 and 30, it went out of Bollinger Band. And that's a warning. You know, when you see a name goes out of Bollinger Band, it has chance to have a bounce up. And that's a lot of people why you pay attention to it. Because, for example, imagine a daily or weekly or monthly. When a name goes out of Bollinger Band, it's always, you know, an extra cautious sign that maybe it's going to do a monster reversal. Maybe it's going to do a big reversal. Either way, let's say it goes up. Let's say it goes down. You know, for example, here you can see Tesla, it went above Bollinger Band. Same next day, again, opened above it. But then it came back inside until Bollinger Band adjusts itself. And another thing interesting is that Bollinger Band midline is always really interesting. You can see here, it's riding down. It came up until you don't see it going above the midline. Direction is still downward. Okay, same thing. About 5 minutes. So it's still below the midline, right? And it's still holding below the midline. What direction changes when it goes above the midline? You see here, it stays below the midline, the 5 minutes. Here it goes below it. Let me show you guys. So it opens, it goes below. It tries to come above the midline on the 5 minutes. Tries to stay above, goes down and stays above again. But then once it goes below it again, then rejection again here, and then it stays below it until here. So that's something really interesting too, that you want to pay attention to the Bollinger Band. It's not, I don't want to say it's 100% reliable, but it's really interesting once you master it. Anyway, enough of that one. The statistic fast IVR went forward, opening direction. Another trick that I mentioned already again, but I will say it, that you want to pay attention to the names pre-market when they open. How is the direction looking up on the 15 and 30? How is the direction on the 1 hour chart, 30-minute chart, or 4-hour chart? For example, that's why I always have the pre-market live, because I want to see what names have the bullish potential at open. Because premiums makes the biggest move at open. Volumes are the highest at the open. And you can see here, for example, 30 minutes MACD was golden cross, was already bullish upward on the Apple pre-market. TTM squeeze was bullish, but as soon as it opened, it dumped. And it didn't have a chance. 5 minutes MACD didn't have a golden cross. It was just kind of flat. It dumped, but as soon as the golden cross, because 15 and 30 was already bullish, 15 wasn't, but because the 30 minutes MACD was bullish, and the 1 hour we already have yellow bar is, and the bars are rising, so it did have a chance for jump up. But for example, another one was Microsoft. Microsoft, it did fail. Again, another thing that what I want to say is that in a stock market and in trading, never ever ever rely 100% on technicals. Always leave few percent, at least 1% chance for failures, because anytime news can come in, anything can happen that it fails. And that's another topic, position size, which I will go at the position size, which I will go at the end. So anyhow, like for example, Microsoft, you can see here, 15 was up, 30 was up, 1 hour was up, and pre-market, but pre-market 5 minutes right away before opens, 5 minutes MACD dead cross, so that was a weakness sign. But if it would have jumped and 5 minutes MACD with a golden cross at the open, then it would be a sign to pass, and past 322 it would be a good sign for run up. But once it drops and then 15 minutes MACD dead cross, that means okay, this one is not going to be bullish anymore, it fails. So that's something else to change, pay attention. I went over this one. Another thing that's interesting is Cheddar Flow. I use Cheddar Flow. That one, let me just log in here. So Cheddar Flow is really interesting. It shows it shows that big players. You can see here, for example, if you sorted by size, you can actually use. I'm pretty sure Thinkorswim has some method to figure out too, but it's not as easy as this one. So I use Cheddar Flow right now, but I think for next year I'm gonna use Unusual Whale. They look like more better. So you wanna always pay attention to the big volumes. For example, look at this one. Somebody opened 352p, 922, and 4 cents. But okay, that's same day direct. Same day. That's a Lotto play. Do here this one. This 922 again. Let me find something better. 922. The old Lotto plays 7,000. Okay, for example, this one is interesting. 929 is next week. 173 put. Somebody bought for 500,000. 7,000. When it's blue, it means a new position. He opened a new position for 73 cents. This is something interesting. You want to pay attention to it. I had many instances happened that in Cheddar Flow there was big plays, and I saw it really hit. When somebody is hit, betting 500 or 300 above, that means they know something, or they much better, and knowing the future. Another okay. Two more things left, and this video is gonna be finished. The most important thing in trading is psychological and position size. Emotions, controlling emotion, controlling greed, controlling hope, controlling your fear. These are the three most key elements: greed, fear, and hope. When to be hopeful, when to be greedy, when to have fear, when to don't have fear, when to disregard it, when to when to stop your greediness, when don't let something that is already green go red. When it's something is small red, maybe don't be fearful, let it go. Respect the indicators, as if let the indicator tell you to get out or continue holding or cut the loss. So, and on top of everything is position size. You can have 10 wins, 10 small wins or 10 big wins, 10 medium wins, and but the 11th time that you play, you play much bigger than your usual, and that be a big loss and wipes down all your profit and even bigger. So position size, there is I can talk about indicators and technical analysis for days and days and days, but about position size, I'll be honest with you, there is not that much out there. Everybody's different, that's why some people don't survive, and that's why some people survive long, because they know when to go big, when to go small. For example, when you see the setup is perfect in technical analysis, you want to know when is the setup perfect, when is the setup medium, when is the setup too risky, when it's too high risk, You know, what is high risk, for example? For example, Tesla, this was not too high risk. Weekly was dead cross. It was golden cross. Then because of FOMC, dead cross, it went lower. Daily is already dead cross. 4 hours downward. 30 minutes is downward. 1 hour is downward already. 1 hour actually dead cross at 12 o'clock. And 30 minutes and 15 is already downward. Then it shows weakness. It breaks the bottom of the range. Then that was actually not a too high risk. Actually was a good risk to reward. Even this, for example, you could play big. But for example, Netflix, okay, daily is downward, weekly is downward. 4 hours golden cross, you'd be like, oh my god, 4 hours already golden cross is upward, let me play calls. But you see here, the risk is too high. Because the daily is downward, the weekly is downward. This is when you want to play a smaller position based on the condition. You want to figure out which setups has a higher chance for winning, which setup it doesn't. I can talk about this forever again. That's another video. And the last thing I want to mention is in trading, know yourself. Are you a deep player? Are you a opposite player? You know, a lot of times like market is flying, but you know you want to say, oh, I don't believe in this, I want to buy put. Okay, you have to know yourself. Are you a deep player? Are you a deep buy player? Are you a opposite player? Are you joining the market? Are you a fearful person? Are you a long-term player? Are you a short-term? You want to play lotto? Are you an expert? Because you know, if you're not an expert, if you're a beginner and you're playing same-day option expiration, you're throwing your money in the trash. To be honest, don't do that. You know, not even I know a lot of people who are expert, who've been in the business long time. They don't even do that. You know, playing same-day option expiration is super high risk, and I don't even do it often either. So I always play next day or same day option expiration. Sometimes you know I even play next week option expiration just to be safer. And the more time you buy is more safer. A lot of people lose money because on Thursday afternoon they buy option expiration on the Friday. Okay, I mean you have a higher chance on the losing if it goes against you. You buy it next week, it's much safer. You know, I mean on Wednesday and Thursday sometimes I start playing next week. I don't play same week anymore. It's just my personal thing. But you should know your own style. Anyhow. This is pretty much it. Just another key point to point out is, like in service, if you like to join, I always post levels. I always mention, okay, first light blue bar or first dark blue bar or yellow bar to show change of direction. I post levels in service. I say, for example, if it passed 252 is strong, then it goes to the next level. SPX, for example, 326 was a key level for me. Like 422 exactly, 4422, that was a major level. You can see it's green. I said if that passes, we're going down to 4326, and there we go. It took 2 days to get there. So market always goes kind of levels to level from when it moves. That's when it stays in a range, then it starts moving. When it starts moving, it goes to the next level. That's why it's important to know the levels. And 252 was my level in Tesla, for example. Once I see that moving, it went to the next level, 248 and 246. And I wasn't expecting it to go to 246. 250 was my target, but until you don't see a yellow bar on the TTM squeeze, it has chance to go lower. It's just beautiful. You just look at this. It continue going lower. I can't explain further than more than this. I hope I helped you guys. And if you like my levels, you can always chartwiser.com. We have promotion, first month's free. And if you like, you can join Said Option Service. I have 7 days free trial. Thank you so much for tuning in. If there's any question, let me know in the comment. Thank you, Wavy. SQ. Somebody asked about SQ. So SQ right now, for example, this name you can see here. Weekly is completely downward. Daily is completely downward. Dead crossed on 918, and 4 hour we don't even have a golden cross. Direction is solid down there. 43.62 is a major level that I have, for example. If it can hold there, then it can go to the lower level, which I have to draw the Fibonacci. You can DM me later, I'll send it to you. But 43 is key. If you can't hold it, even lower. And there's bad, people probably don't like Jack Dorsey. He's probably getting charged more. And this one, until you don't see a yellow bar on the daily, direction is down. and 4362 is the key level to watch. If you can't hold it, much lower down it can go. Any question you have, you can always DM me. I love to communicate with people. And thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for joining. Hope you have a great night. Thank you.